There's a moment in the emotional dynamic between men and women that most don't understand. She only starts to value you when she realizes you're leaving. Before that, everything you do seems invisible, predictable, even guaranteed. It's not because she doesn't like you, but because the female mind creates a silent mechanism of accommodation when it feels that the man is 100% available. The more present you are, the more she believes that this bond is unbreakable. And precisely because she believes this, she stops looking at you with admiration. The affection doesn't diminish, but the emotional tension disappears, and without tension, there is no recognition. But what changes when you start to distance yourself? The answer is simple. She feels risk. And when there is risk, there is perception. When there is perception, there is appreciation. Her brain awakens, as if a forgotten part begins to see your qualities, your efforts, your presence again. The curious thing is that none of this arises when you try to prove your worth. It arises when you take away what she took for granted. It is at this moment that she realizes she can lose what she thought she would always have. And the perception of loss is always stronger than the appreciation of presence. If this beginning has already messed with your head and made you see something that was there, but you had never noticed, then subscribe to the channel now, because from here on out the truth only deepens. Comment if you have experienced something similar and share this video with someone who needs to wake up to this today. The emotional shift begins silently, almost imperceptibly, but profoundly strong. It is the moment when she notices that something in you has changed, not because you made a speech, not because you demanded, not because you complained, but because your energy has begun to move to another place. You don't respond as quickly. You're not as available. You don't show the same urgency to please. It's not neglect, it's preservation. And that's exactly what triggers an internal alert in her. For the first time, she feels that she no longer fully controls the dynamic. What was once certain becomes uncertain. What was constant becomes doubt. And within this doubt, discomfort is born that awakens appreciation. The female mind is highly sensitive to emotional loss. When she realizes that you're distancing yourself not as a game, but as a consequence of a strain, she begins to mentally revisit everything you've done for her. The details she ignored begin to weigh on her. The actions that seemed commonplace gain importance. The presence that seemed eternal now becomes fragile. And this discomfort activates a deep instinct. The fear of losing something that, deep down, she knows she won't find anywhere else. She says nothing. She doesn't ask. She doesn't confront. She doesn't admit it. But she starts to observe more. Pay attention to your changes. Try to understand if you're really letting go or if it's something momentary. Her silence isn't disinterest, it's fear. Fear that you're finally realizing your own worth. There's a critical point that completely transforms how she sees you. The moment your attention stops being automatic. You don't disappear. You don't disappear on purpose. You don't play games. You don't ignore. You just live. You take care of yourself. And for the first time, she feels that she's no longer the center of your world. It's an uncomfortable, almost physical sensation that affects her emotions in a way that few things do. The security she had crumbles a little, and this makes her see you differently. What was once routine now becomes valuable. What she always had is now perceived as something that could end. And this feeling, for many women, is the trigger that awakens a more vulnerable side. The one that understands that losing you would not only be inconvenient, but painful. She begins to observe your movements with more care, more curiosity, and more urgency. Not because you did something wrong, but because the absence of your excess makes her realize how much it always meant. At that moment, something changes within her. The need to regain your attention is born. And this need is not conscious, it's instinctive. She begins to adjust her behavior, soften her tone, demonstrate genuine interest. Small gestures appear out of nowhere. More affectionate messages emerge, and attitudes she never had before begin to happen. It's not manipulation, it's fear of loss. But it is precisely this fear that awakens the appreciation she didn't have before. When she realizes that you are no longer emotionally trapped, a powerful psychological phenomenon arises. You cease to be a guaranteed resource and become a possibility that can escape. This changes everything. The female mind reacts intensely to perceive value, not declare value. And when you regain your emotional autonomy, your perceived value skyrockets. She begins to think about things she never thought about when she had you completely. She wonders if she treated you as she should have. She questions her own attitudes. She tortures herself with the idea of having been negligent. And, above all, she begins to look at you with more respect. The kind of respect that only arises when she understands that you don't depend on her to exist. And then comes the most interesting point. She starts to see you as a man with options. Even if you don't say anything, your new behavior conveys this. The tranquility, the confident silence, the focus on yourself. Everything indicates that you're not desperate. And what isn't desperate becomes desirable. This is the moment when she feels something profound, a combination of regret, longing, and admiration. She begins to remember what you did, what you offered, what you were. And for the first time, she feels fear not of being alone, but of losing someone who truly matters. This is where genuine value is born, the kind of value that cannot be asked for, only perceived. And when this perception happens, she changes the way she acts, speaks, responds, and approaches you. One of the strongest emotional triggers for any woman is the idea of being replaced. Even if she doesn't say it, even if she seems confident, even if she shows coldness, there's a part of her that deeply fears seeing you give the world what was once only hers. And when she realizes you're emotionally distant, this fear begins to grow silently. She imagines you smiling at someone else. She thinks of someone else receiving your patience, your attention, your affection, and this affects her in a way she would never confess. This feeling isn't simple jealousy, it's instinct. It's the sensation of losing emotional ground in the life of someone who could have chosen to value her, but now might choose to go on alone or go on with someone else. This fear ignites a sense of urgency in her. She starts observing you more intensely, notices details she previously ignored, feels jealous even of small things. And, paradoxically, this jealousy awakens in her what you wanted from the beginning. Real interest, genuine attention, emotional presence. She realizes you're no longer easily won over. And this difficulty increases your value. The human mind values what can be lost, not what is guaranteed. And when she feels she's about to lose someone rare, her behavior changes. She tries to get closer again, tries to pull you back while pretending she's not trying. This is how belated appreciation is born, when the heart realizes that the exchange is no longer impossible. It's probable. There's a point where the dynamic changes completely. The moment she realizes she's no longer alone at the center of her life. You didn't say there's another woman, you didn't insinuate anything, you didn't play games. But your emotional independence creates this feeling. It's as if she realizes that now she needs to compete for space with the world around her. Her projects, her silence, her peace, her new posture. This perception awakens something in her that many men never imagine, a subtle competitive instinct. It's not that explicit competition, but an internal need to recover the place she believes she lost without realizing it. And this need causes her to intensify behaviors she never had before. She starts responding faster, being kinder, seeking your presence more often. It's discreet, but it's real. This instinct arises because, emotionally, she knows that nothing is more valuable to a man than his own peace. And when she realizes that her peace no longer depends on her, the fear arises of being just a part of your life and no longer the center of it. This makes her reflect on everything she lost when she didn't value you as she should have. Inside her, a mixture of wounded pride and a sincere desire to regain your attention emerges. It's the first time she's acting not out of habit, but out of choice. And this choice reveals how much she truly fears losing you. Her silence changes tone. Now it's not indifference, it's an attempt. An attempt to get closer to a man who has finally learned to put himself first. When she feels she's about to lose emotional control of the situation, something profound begins to happen inside her. It's a silent despair, the kind of unease she would never confess, even if you asked directly. She tries to maintain an image of calm, tries to act naturally, tries to pretend everything is fine. But inside, every little change in you becomes a warning sign. She realizes that you no longer show that anxiety to please, that you don't live waiting for approval, that you don't react hastily to any gesture of hers. And this creates the feeling that, for the first time, she is the one who might be left behind. This thought follows her at random moments. While looking at your photos, while reading your messages, while noticing that you are becoming increasingly self-centered. This desperation doesn't appear in the form of tears or grand gestures. It emerges in small actions, a sweeter comment, an attempt at reconciliation, a sudden concern about what you think. She starts testing you less and observing you more. She starts talking about things she previously ignored. She shows affection in moments when she was previously cold. All this happens because she feels that her lack of appreciation may have had a price she didn't foresee. And now, faced with the real possibility of losing you, a profound recognition of your worth is born. She wouldn't say it out loud, but her behavior betrays the truth. When you regain emotional balance, she's the one who loses control. When everything settles down within her and the internal storm ceases, a clarity emerges that, until recently, she lacked the emotional maturity to see. That's when she realizes that you weren't just a good man. You were someone who truly tried, truly was present, truly gave love, attention, and consistency. And understanding this too late creates a kind of void in her that no other connection can quickly fill. She looks at you now with different eyes. Not because you've artificially changed, but because you finally live in a way that no longer revolves around her. And this emotional independence transforms you into something rare, something irreplaceable, something she doesn't easily find elsewhere. At that moment, the most painful realization is born for any woman who believes she had you guaranteed forever. Realizing that the power she thought she had dissolved the moment you stopped depending on her emotionally. There's no anger, no pride, no manipulation that can withstand the impact of seeing a man continue to grow without looking back. And this is where the story is fully revealed. She doesn't value you when you do everything right. She values you when you do it right for yourself, not for her. What awakens admiration, respect, and desire is not your dedication, but your ability to remain whole. And if you've made it this far, I need to ask you something important. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment saying, "I no longer lose my value." Like it and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. The more men understand this dynamic, the less they will be emotionally manipulated. You deserve clarity, strength, and relationships that don't drain who you are.